Welcome back to the Windy City Podcast. I'm your host, Carter, and today I'm going to cover an embarrassing six-game losing streak and how the Bulls have bounced back since. The first game I want to get into is the Bulls' win over the Spurs, 128 to 104 on February 6th. Nikola Vucevic had 22 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 assists. Andre Drummond had 21 points, 15 rebounds, and 3 steals. And Zach had 20 points, and DeMar added in 19 points and 5 assists. Before I give my opinion on the game, I know this game is quite dated, but I feel like it's important to highlight the good that we did before it all went downhill. And I'm just going straight into it. The Bulls ended the first quarter up 11 points. And no surprise about this, we gave it all up. And the Spurs gained a lead by 4 towards the end of the quarter. And then somehow we went on a 23-3 run to put the Spurs away. So while we did do our job there, we didn't really hold up our lead, and we had to pull some unbelievable performances to get back into the game, which we should have never had done in the first place. But now I want to cover the biggest issue we have, which is our 6-game losing streak. The Bulls lost. The first loss I'm going to cover, I guess the first of the 6, is the Bulls lost to the Grizzlies 104 to 89 on February 8th. Vooch had 28 points, 17 rebounds, and 6 assists. I don't really have much to say on this game. This is just an embarrassing loss. And it's mainly due to the fact that we showed no grit. I could go into depth about this, but this is just overall like a bad game. Like if this wasn't a part of a 6-game losing streak, there's not really much you can really say about it, except we just played bad basketball. The next loss is the Bulls losing to the Nets 115 to 105 on February 9th. That was a pretty embarrassing loss, I felt, because the Nets just lost Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, which are they're two like best players by far and are some of the top players in the league. And they lost all of their firepower. And I say that, but they gained Spencer Dinwiddie back, and Spencer Dinwiddie just destroyed us. Zach had 38 points, and he had the only performance that I can really speak highly on. DeMar had 14 points in 36 minutes, which is horrible. Vooch had 15 points and went 1 from 6 from 3. And I think this is where we started to see the trend of, as a team, we can't shoot threes. On the night, we shot 5 for 26, which is also 19%. That's horrible. The next loss is the Bulls to the Cavs, 97 to 89. This one kind of hurt me a little more, especially given the fact that the last time we played the Cavs, we let some guy get 70 on us. And I say some guy lightly, like it's not Donovan Mitchell, but I don't think we should have given him 70. We just kind of let him have it. LaVine had 23 points. Vooch had 14 points and 14 rebounds, and DeMar contributed 16 points and 6 assists. As a team, we had 23 turnovers and went 5 for 23 from 3. I feel like that's just an embarrassing loss again because we went out and played like a middle school team. And to make it worse, Cleveland's bench went 1 for 19 and missed all 13 threes they took from the bench. So not only did our stars get outplayed, our bench also somehow got outplayed, which I don't know how they did that without scoring. It's just beyond me how we lose these games. The next game I want to cover is the Bulls lost to the Magic 191. The Bulls pretty much took themselves out of this game due to our inability to shoot the ball. As a team, we missed the first 13 3-pointers we attempted, and that's just really bad. We went 3 for 21 from the night on 3. From the last 5 games, or the 5 collective games, the Bulls have shot, not as of now, but in this losing streak, they shot 26 for 125 from 3. That is horrible. Like, we need to at least be 50%, which is kind of hard to do. But I said before that we need to take shots to make shots. And now we're taking shots and missing them. So we really need to figure out a new game plan besides just throwing up threes and praying the ball goes in. Against the Magic, LaVine had 26 points and DeMar forced 19 points by playing through a hip issue. Again, I don't think he should be playing if the goal is to not tank, but that's just whatever. Vooch had 13 points and 13 rebounds. And how the Magic handled the end of this game is exactly what the Bulls should have been able to do when we get a lead. The Mavs had, I'd say, like I think it was a 7 point lead above us. Maybe it was 13. I don't remember. They had a good lead. And we started to make a run on them a little bit. But the one thing that we always forget is that they have a lead. So yes, while they we made a run on them, they were able to lean on that lead a little bit when the offensive possessions didn't go their way, and they were still able to score here and there, and they were able to put us away off of just maintaining what little they had. The next loss is the Bulls lost to the Pacers 117 to 113. I'm just gonna say it just flat out. We played horrible. Like this is some bad basketball. The Pacers came back from down 24 points. How do we allow this to happen as an NBA team? And I think what makes me more frustrated as a high school center is that Vooch is 6'10, 260 pounds. The guy guarding him in multiple situations was Aaron Nesmith. And for those of you who don't know, he's 6'5 and 210 pounds. Now, I may not be a genius, but that is 5 inches of height and about 50 pounds of mass. I think that's the definition of a mismatch. Vooch should have been given the ball more in the post, and everyone else needs to get to a spot he can kick out if he gets doubled. That's just straight up simple how we have to play against teams smaller than us. This next loss, I'm still not happy about. While we did lose to the Bucks, and they're a very good team, they also didn't have Giannis. We got lucky. Giannis got injured and only played 9 minutes because we would have been ran out of the gym, like blown out by 30, like just a bad loss. Vooch had 22 points and 16 rebounds. As you guys know, this is what I expect Vooch to do regularly. Everybody else had a subpar performance. I don't even think it's worth covering them because if we want to talk negative, I got a lot of negative we can talk. I feel that our main issue this season is playing as a team. And at one point, it was shooting threes, and now it's just making them. And the biggest issue of all of them is just finishing games. But I think if we play as a team, the rest of the issues will fall into place and we can solve them. But we're playing selfish basketball right now, and we've got to share the ball more. As of the last time I checked, we are 22nd in the league out of 30 teams from three. So that basically means we are 8 places above last for our 3 point percentage, which, again, it's a league. It's going to happen. There's got to be someone on the bottom. I just don't think it should be us with what we have. Even though the trade deadline is over, I still want to go over what I was thinking when this was happening and what, notes I mentally noted and physically noted as well. And before I go into it, I want to make something clear to avoid confusion. The Bulls executive vice president of basketball operations, his name's kind of hard to say, but I'm going to give it my shot. It's Arturas Karnasovas. I'm pretty sure I just butchered this guy's name. I'm going to call him AK because I can't say his name. And basically, AK plays a significant role in trading and just our roster management as well. So there was a lot of speculation at one point that the Bulls were going for Willie Herman-Gomez. And I think this is just stupid. We have Vooch, who needs to stay for as long as we can keep him. And we have Drummond, who plays great when Billy Donovan actually decides to not be an idiot and play him. For starters, Hernan-Gomez averages 7.3 points and 4.8 rebounds. Vooch averages 17.8 points and 11.2 rebounds per game. And Drummond, even though he does not get the minutes he deserves, he still averages fewer minutes, but he averages fewer points at 6.7 points, but more rebounds at 6.8 points. So basically what I'm trying to say is we trade Vooch, we're screwed. He gives us that vital scoring we need from the post occasionally. And I'd say he's a pretty consistent rebounder. And Hernan-Gomez is not capable of doing this. So someone online was talking about it, trying to defend this trade or support it by saying that Hernan-Gomez was a 2022 EuroLeague MVP. And I looked into it, and he is, or he was. But what's the point? In the Euro League, he averaged 15.4 points and 7.4 rebounds per game, which I hate to break it to you, is still less than Vooch in a more competitive league. So even in a league with lesser talent, he's still producing less than a 32-year-old center. That's all I got to say on that one. The next big trade deadline I want to talk about was Russell Westbrook. So there were multiple announcements. I thought we were going to get him for a bit because it just kept coming up and coming up and coming up. But as much as I love the Bulls, they will never fail to piss me off. And that's just because I have so much love for them. Before the rebrand, I gave my opinion on him. And for those of you who don't know, I'll keep it short. He is not the player we need. We need a pure point guard to replace Lonzo because he's not coming back this season. Not someone who can go 2 for 12 because we have bench players who can do that and give it the right time. And I'm pretty sure we have starters that can do that as well. I mean, the bar for this team's been set pretty low this season, especially after the high and how high we pushed it up last season. I'm not going to go too deep in the rust. I think it's dumb. But if we want to get into worse territory, this is by far the dumbest thing I saw during the whole everyone making their last push for trades. The Bulls were in the talks with the Knicks for, I think, a day, maybe 2 days, which doesn't seem like a lot of time. But when there's like a week left until the trade deadline is shut off and you have to start spending money to get players, that's 2 days take up a lot of time. And the Bulls were in talks with the Knicks about trading Levine. This makes absolutely no sense why we would hear them out on it. They have nobody that they can give us to replace Levine. And it just doesn't make sense. We already have an issue with scoring. And the front office is now thinking about trading our best scorer, who's been the best player on our team for 6 years, I guess, since he's gotten here. And there's, like I said, there's nobody in the Knicks that can fill Zach's role on our team. And the fact that we were open to talks trading him makes me really question what AK and our front office is doing. And I guess my conclusion on this whole last trade push was nothing. The front office did nothing. We did not make any trades, none. We just entertained dumb ones that every Bulls fan hated. And since the Bulls don't want to tank this season, which basically tanking means we're going to play purposely bad and we're going to have a terrible ranking so that we can get a high draft pick. And they don't want to do that this season. They want to play it out. And we can't play it out without making roster moves and getting some depth. There are only 2 teams in the entire league who didn't make any moves, the Bulls and the Cavs. The Cavs didn't make any moves because they're 4th in the East, and they just dropped 71, and they just had a guy who dropped 71 points on us. They are 4th. They are making the playoffs. As of today, they're making the playoffs. We are 9th the last time I looked with a negative record, which is still very much so a negative record, and we might even be 10th or 11th, but we have significantly dropped in seeding. And the Cavs might be able to get by because they have a playoff spot. But if we're not trying to tank, we cannot get in the playoffs. In the play-in, we're going to get steamrolled. And I guess you can say, oh, well, we did make a move. We didn't make a trade move. We bought this guy's contract entirely. And now we're paying him. I think that's how it works. I'm not sure. But the Bulls signed Patrick Beverly. And I have a couple thoughts on this. We need him and we don't need him. Basically, he brings certain things to the table that we need, but still doesn't have the playmaking facilitating that we desperately need in Lonzo's absence. Now, yes, he can bring the energy we need and that defensive intensity that we often lack. And I think him and Caruso coming off the bench together will be a problem for everyone. As a lot of people, when Caruso got here, he was just a defensive menace, and I loved every second of it. But as much as Beverly is going to help us, there's that big issue that he can't fill. Now, he's not the best 3-shooter and he's not the worst 3-shooter, but that's our team. One of the biggest factors in us losing games is our inability to make threes and make shots. But don't get me wrong, we still greatly benefit from picking him up. But I think we still need some more offensive firepower and playmaking. And just overall, we need a couple players or a player who can play make and accurately shoot. Now, I have a couple more things I want to cover before I wrap it up. And these are just our two recent games, which are wins. And I'm happy to end on a positive note because there was a lot of negative when I was writing this. And I tried to remove most of it, but still keep enough to where I have something to talk about. So the Bulls beat the Nets at 131 to 87. And again, I am impressed that we actually beat a team. I didn't know how long this losing streak was going to go on for. And I'm glad it was only 6. But we beat a team and we beat them by 44 points. Levine had 32 points. Vooch and Drummond had 13 points and 10 rebounds each, which I thought was kind of funny. And DeMar and Patrick Williams had 17 points each. As a team, we went 12 for 26 from 3, which is a great improvement from any game we've played in the last 2 weeks. Maybe I could argue the last month and a half, maybe even 2 months. And I'm all for us winning, but I am going to discredit this team a little bit. We beat a team who just lost their whole core after they mopped the floor with us. But I mean, hey, a win is a win. I'm going to take it either way. Next team I'm going to cover is the Bulls and the Wizards. The Bulls beat the Wizards 102 to 82. DeMar had 29 points. Zach added in 27 points. Vooch had 16 points and 13 rebounds. And Kobe White had 17 points. And I'm going to be honest, I'm just kind of surprised we won again because, we've been playing bad. And we shot 6 for 28 on the night. That's pretty low, I think. That we're getting back to that losing team territory, but we still won. Oh, I butchered that. I got to try again. I'm just flat out going to say I'm surprised we won this game. We went 8 for 30 from 3, and our terrible 3-point shooting has counted us out of multiple games. But I think it just boiled down to the fact that the Wizards had an equally bad night going 6 for 28. I think that's a dumpster fire of a game to watch. And I'm surprised we broke 100. But again, a win is a win. I know it's the Wizards, but I'm going to take what we can get. One last thing I want to mention is Pat Bev's role. When DeMar was asked about Pat Bev, he said that he holds everyone accountable and is going to compete at a high level. When you see a teammate with that type of mentality, you've got to follow behind that. And I think you saw that. And that was DeMar talking about Pat Bev's first game in a Bulls uniform. And I'm glad to see that Pat Bev fits in with the team, but it's kind of sad that we're looking to him as a leader and he's only played 2 games. Now, I get that's what you do with guys like him. You look for them to lead your team, but I think Zach should have stepped up. He's been here since 2017. And I'm not saying step up when Pat Bev gets here. I'm saying that he should have been stepped up. Like when we're going through rough patches and whatnot, he's our guy. Everyone looks up to him. We need him. And I think he knows that. I just don't think he's familiar with the leadership role. Now, while I'm glad that we do now have a leader on the Bulls to hold everyone accountable, I'm still disappointed Levine didn't step up. And this goes back to the whole midseason struggle when everyone called out Zach in the locker room. There was a big argument. And it took the whole team together to get on him. And then he started playing good again. And I think that he needs to keep that same energy towards those guys back, not only as a teammate, but as a competitor. Because he talks about competing against his teammates in practice and other teams in the league and whatnot. And I get that. It's a big part of basketball is competing. But if your team's going to hold you accountable, I think you need to hold them accountable back. And I'm a petty person, so I would do the same. If someone gets on to me and then I give them the output they're asking for and they're not doing the same back, I'm going to say something to them. And hopefully that can kick us back up. And that's it for this episode. I hope next time we can talk about more wins and I have more stuff to talk about instead of just giving a depressing episode about us losing games. Again, I'm going to try to get out more episodes faster, but I'd say one thing that's hard about making a one team sports podcast is that I kind of match the team. When we have our highs, my podcast will have its highs. And when we have our lows, the podcast will match its lows. And the Bulls hit a low. So my energy and content is going to be low because they're not giving me anything. Like we need to win games to talk about improvements. And we can sit here and talk about regressions all day. And I just don't think that's worth listening to me, and me personally, at least, because you can talk to any Bulls fan. If you want to hear them talk about regressions, have them watch a game and sit there and just look at them, just listen to them react, and then ask them about how they felt about the game. And they'll tell you in a few very precise words how they felt. And like I said, that wraps it up for this episode. I'm your host, Carter, and thank you for joining me on the Windy City podcast.